Prime Minister Joseph John Goethe reviews MTN Cameroon's engagement for a performance telecommunications sector in Cameroon. The Chief Executive Officer of the company, Stephen Bleuret, is urged to preserve employment and reassured of government supports. 1 month into the implementation of the presidential decree fixing the coefficients of old age and incapacity pensions, as well as death benefits at 20% by the National Social Insurance Fund, the 7:30 News investigates its effectiveness. Good evening and thanks for joining us. Those were the headlines of the 7:30 News.
Each of us must comply with the measures that have been taken.
1 month into the implementation of the presidential decree to fix the coefficients for the upward revision of certain old age and incapacity pensions as well as death benefits granted by the National Social Insurance Fund, we explore its effectiveness. From August 1, 2020, some 100,000 pensioners were expected to benefit from the 20% increments. While it has been possible for some, others are still in wait. How is this justified? Iwane Pole attempts an answer in this report.
Pensioners affected by the recent presidential decree of July 8, 2020, raising old age pension, disability and death benefit of 20%, began receiving the bonuses in last August salaries as promised by government. However, some pensioners say they have not seen any change in their salaries.
No, I've not had any increase in salary. As a civil servant, I'm retired, but I don't think there's any increase in my salary.
According to the Director General of the National Fund for Social Insurance, CNPS, Noel Alain Olivier Nekulu Mvondo Akame, the decision affects only those who are already on retirement and did not benefit from the reform of 2016. He refers to such people as the old pensioners. He reiterated that the financial burden on CNPS is 15 billion CFA francs, covering 100,000 persons already benefiting from the new rate.
In economic news, taxpayers in the country now have the opportunity to clear their tax liability through an abatement. This has been made possible through a special compromise introduced into the 2020 Finance Law of the Republic of Cameroon. As Clarice Aritagang explains, the reform aims at stimulating economic growth.
The 2020 Special Tax Compromise is an intent to put an end to a dispute or tax recovery procedure with an uncertain outcome.
They have a 50% reduction in their tax liabilities and the possibility to pay in 3 installments if their cases are at the level of the administrative phase of tax disputes. They have a 60% reduction if their cases are at the level of the judicial phase of tax disputes. There is a special bonus to taxpayers who are found in these areas we call economic disaster zones. They have a special waiver of 75% of all their taxes.
A clean balance sheet for taxpayers and more tax revenue for the state, all resulting from the understanding that no new complaints will be filed, those ongoing will be renounced, and tax liability of up till December 2018 will be cleared.
Every taxpayer in Cameroon can benefit from this. They just simply need to file a claim at the level of the Director General of Taxation.
The special tax compromise introduced in the 2020 state budget will run till December 31, 2020. Beyond this period, no such request from taxpayers will be received.
In one of our top stories, the contributions of MTN Cameroon to the telecommunications sector in the country and the company's engagements for a more performance service have been reviewed in Yaoundé. This was at an audience Prime Minister Joseph John Goethe granted today to the recently appointed Chief Executive Officer of MTN Cameroon, Stephen Bleuret. Christian Chiatam reports from this tower building.
The audience, which Prime Minister Joseph John Goethe granted the new CEO of MTN Cameroon, comes exactly a month after the arrival of Stephen Bleuret to the country. The meeting was a platform for the MTN official to open contacts with government.
We shared ideas about his views of what we could do as a company to do things better and to contribute more. And I received those, and he said some very good ideas that we're going to work on.
The encounter was also a forum for the recently appointed CEO to present his vision for MTN Cameroon in the short term.
To improve the network quality, that's one of the things you will see immediately. To continuously bring new digital ideas, new concepts. And then the third thing is to help young people develop in the digital economy.
Prime Minister Joseph John Goodey has reassured the Chief Executive Officer that Cameroon remains an open and conducive atmosphere for investments. He says government will always be attentive to the concerns of investors in the country.
Now on to this press release from the Prime Minister's office. The Prime Minister, head of government, hereby informs the national and international community that following the holding of the major national dialogue convened by the head of state, His Excellency Paul Biya, from September 30 to October 4, 2019, a committee to follow up the implementation of the ensuing recommendations was created by presidential decree on March 23, 2020. This action, amongst others, conveys the resolute determination of the head of state to find a lasting solution to the situation in the northwest and southwest regions through dialogue. Notwithstanding the challenges posed by the coronavirus pandemic, the first session of the follow-up committee has been scheduled for Thursday, the 3rd of September 2020, and will afford members of the committee to take stock of government measures already carried out and chart the way forward. It is signed by the Director of Cabinet, Balogeli Confiance Ebune. On to diplomacy, Cameroon is soliciting the support of France to occupy the post of Director General of the Agency for Air Safety Navigation in Africa and Madagascar. The French ambassador to Cameroon, His Excellency Christophe Guilou, was granted audience today at the Ministry of External Relations. Charles Ebune updates us on the content of the exchange and on other activities at the Ministry of External Relations today.
A day of an established support system at the Ministry of External Relations. 1. Cameroon needs the support of France to become the Director General through our candidacy of the Agency for Air Safety Navigation in Africa and Madagascar.
I will transmit all this information back to my authorities in Paris, and that will help them to decide which is the country that we will support.
The World Trade Organization, several candidates are vying to become the Director General, including former Nigerian Finance Minister Ngozi Iweala-Ogonjo. And so President Muhammadu Buhari has dispatched his diplomat in Yaoundé to seek Yaoundé's support.
We discussed a lot of things bordering on the Nigeria-Cameroon relation and particularly the upcoming World Trade Organization election.
The audience with the French ambassador to Cameroon was done on behalf of Cameroon by the Minister for Islamic Affairs, Adum Gargum, while that with the Nigerian diplomat was conducted by the Secretary General of the Ministry of External Relations, Cecile Eyengambala.
In other news, partners. This was at a workshop in Yaoundé presided over by the Minister of Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises, Social Economy and Handicraft, Achille Basilican III. Beatrice Ngum reports that the charter will organize and render small and medium-sized enterprises competitive.
The project on the elaboration of a national charter for SMEs in Cameroon was launched in 2018 after it was observed that the small and medium-sized enterprises sector is key to the growth of the national economy, yet the sector is not properly organized.
We will see precisely if everything that is already in the zero draft is in line with the expectations of SMEs, so that we put together the sound conditions for the successful contribution of SMEs in the development of our country.
The Code of Conduct for SMEs will equally help minimize the risk and challenges in the sector.
What are the rights and obligations of SMEs, and what incentives is the government going to provide to ensure that SMEs can continue growing.
The guide for SMEs will as well provide them with a favorable environment for expansion.
Now on today's development story, the town of Marua is gradually moving from darkness to light after the interruption in power supply following the destruction of pylons during Monday's torrential rains. Through the thermal station in Marua, the Electricity Corporation has opted for load shedding. Meanwhile, the pont Ver is open for use to truck drivers heading to neighboring Chad and Nigeria while waiting for the rehabilitation of the collapsed Pala Bridge. Henry Tato Ekambi tells us more from the far north.
The journey might be longer and more stressful now, but one thing is sure, truck drivers can now transport goods to and from neighboring countries with the alternative provided by the authorities here. The governor of the far north has instructed that they can only ply the green bridge popularly known in Marua as Pont Ver.
As far as the toll is concerned, they have to go through Pont Ver and to join the road in order to go to Kusiri. Pont Rouge have some difficulties as far as pillar is concerned, and that's why we forbid trucks to go through this pont, and you have to pass through Pont Ver.
The drivers of these heavy-duty trucks testify that it's painful but better than nothing, though there are fears that Pont Ver, which is now serving everyone and dates back to the colonial era, might also give way. The authorities are sure that it is a short-term measure as lasting solutions are on the way. The authorities and officials of the Electricity Corporation are also working tooth and nail to provide electricity through the thermal station in Marua after the populace experienced power outage for half a day due to the floods.
Not far from the far north, refugees and their host communities in the north region can now have improved access to healthcare and other social services. This is thanks to the launch of the activities of the integrated project to ease the socio-economic burdens of refugees in the north. The Inspector General of the Services of the Governor's Office, Simon Sombe, joined the key actors to ensure that the relief efforts are properly coordinated. As we hear in this report with Tony Nanyongo.
Tuboro in the Mayorai division, which is host to more than 24,500 refugees, is among the 21 municipalities in the north, far north Adamawa and east regions selected for the start of the integrated project financed by the World Bank. The aim of the project that targets areas hosting refugees in Cameroon is to support government meet the needs of the refugees and their host communities.
The key actor for the meantime is the mayor of Tuboro, who will not leave any stone unturned to make sure that those who are bringing in relief for the population and refugees under his care should be well accompanied and taken care of.
Resources and activities will be coordinated by the Social Safety Net Project, the Health System Performance Reinforcement Project, the Education Reform Support, as well as the Community-Driven Development Project. Officials believe that the integrated approach will help avoid the loss of resources.
The use of English and French as the two official languages with equal status and value as enshrined in the Constitution of Cameroon is an outstanding element in the country's bicultural nature. The policy of bilingualism and its practice, though appreciated by many, differs depending on the users. Kilian Dandifon was out in some offices and on the streets of Yaoundé to find out just how bilingualism is practiced by Cameroonians and the difficulties encountered.
Wednesday, September 2, Louise is misdirected at the reception of the Ministry of Secondary Education.
I spoke to the receptionist in English. She did not really understand what I said, but instead of trying to inquire better for me, she just sent me to an office which was not really where we wanted to go.
It is Virginia's first visit to Yaoundé, but she is not disappointed.
The persons I have met have tried in their own way to attend to me in the language I understand best, which is English. And in cases where they don't understand English, they have directed me to persons who can attend to me in that language.
At Elections Cameroon, the Director General is the principal galvanizer of bilingualism practice.
Since Mr. Director General has instructed us to speak in English, we we are in the move to speak in English.
That's good.
Since Cameroon is a bilingual country.
Each Wednesday and Friday, we practice bilingualism. For Francophone, they speak English. For Anglophone, they speak French.
The problems and solutions of bilingualism practice are commonplace.
The difficulty is that many are ashamed. They think that if they don't speak well, they will.
In an office where you have more than 2 or 3 persons, they should make it possible for at least one person to be able to speak well in the other language, either in French or in English.
There are attempts to make bilingualism work in Cameroon. The obstacle is implementation.
In other news, works carried out by the Central Delegation for State Property, Surveys and Land Tenure are being evaluated by the head of the Ministerial Department. Minister Henry Eyebiayisi today told the service to make an appraisal of the functioning of the delegation in Funde and to listen to the problems faced by the personnel. Alice Mbey tells us more.
They come from the east, littoral, south and central region of Cameroon. All delegates from the different departments of the Ministry of State Property, Survey and Land Tenure participating in the meeting, with an objective of accelerating work covered so far in the sector with respect to laid down principles.
We have had the opportunity with other regional delegates of MINCAF on the spot assessment, implementation of the measures that have been taken from, let's say, March 2020 concerning how we could assure proper implementation of the current legal provisions concerning the registration, how we could deliver land certificates. We need to assure that practices will be improved, and particularly concerning national and foreigners in Cameroon, how we could really access to land property.
The delegates were employed by the minister on the occasion to rapidly get to work to ensure good governance and proper exploitation of Cameroon's rich potentials is a reality.
In security news, fake banknotes worth about 5 million CFA francs have been seized from a gang of counterfeiters arrested by officials of the 4th Central Police Station in Ekono, Yaoundé. The gang of 6 who have been operating in the towns of Douala and Yaoundé for some months now were nabbed in the course of one of their transactions. Gerard Nanji Eyambe reports that the culprits were presented to the press today.
There are 6 suspects intercepted by the 4th Central Police Station in Yaoundé in the process of producing 12 million francs fake banknotes.
Based on credible information, the basis of criminality, Mr. Fouabon Alassa was found in possession of 444,000 counterfeited notes, or in 10,000. He said that the person from whom they get this money is found in Douala. Another gang was equally hacked, and when he was interrogated, he said these counterfeited notes are printed in Nigeria and then shipped into Cameroon. The counterfeited notes actually look like exact money, having almost all the 5 security controls. But if you look at the counterfeited notes, they all have the same number, whereas real money has numbers but in series. The advice I can give to the population is always to check if they're in possession of a good quantity of money, is to check to see whether the notes they have, numbers but in series, are not having the same numbers.
The 6 suspects are gnashing their teeth behind bars while awaiting trial.
The wearing of face masks in public places will be mandatory until further notice.
At 7:51, we talk about COVID-19. Pregnant women have been nursing fears of having a miscarriage if they get infected with the coronavirus. Gynecologists say their unborn babies can survive if they continue to observe barrier measures and continue their antenatal visits. Even with the virus, they will have safe deliveries and their babies will be COVID-19 free. Baldwin Sama at the Public Health Emergency Operations Center tells us more with his guest, Professor Robinson Bo. Hi, Baldwin.
Good evening to you, Esther Kmer. I should say it becomes quite disturbing for most pregnant women, especially those who have been tested positive for COVID-19, given that they are quite worried to know whether or not when they are pregnant and they are COVID-19 positive, they will have a miscarriage or they will have a safe delivery and their newborns will be COVID-19 free. That is what we discussed this evening with our guest, Professor Robertson Bo, who is a seasoned gynecologist and the Director of Family Health in the Ministry of Public Health. Good evening, Prof.
Good evening.
A pregnant woman tested positive for COVID-19, worried as to whether she may have a safe delivery or it will lead to miscarriage. What are the possibilities?
Thank you very much. So far, since COVID started in Cameroon, we've had about 80 reported cases registered with data. We don't want to get any information from somewhere else. We want to analyze these 80 cases, which are Cameroonian cases, in a study which is going to start by the next 2 weeks. We've been able to get ethical clearance for that study, and we've been able to get funding for that study. So in a very short while, I will tell you the picture of COVID and pregnancy in Cameroon. What happened to these 80 women that have been registered? How did they deliver? How did the children come out? Was it through the normal road to cesarean section? We will be able to answer these questions in a very short while. We don't want to get data from somewhere else because we have enough cases to analyze in our country.
And what do these pregnant women who are tested positive for COVID-19 need to know in order to avoid any further contamination?
The first thing is that the women, once they are tested positive, they should be able to kind of isolate themselves. They should, so that they can't spread it out. In terms of the COVID leaving the mother and the child, that's one of the things we're going to analyze in the study I want to tell you now.
Thank you so much, Professor Robertson Bo, for being our guest this evening on the 7:30 newscast. Our gynecologists have confirmed that 80 cases of pregnant women who have been tested positive for COVID-19 have been reported so far in Cameroon, and one pregnant woman tested positive for COVID-19 has died so far. That is in the northwest region of the country, and we have had 4 new cases of pregnant women who have been tested positive for COVID-19 reported in the country. 2 cases in the far north, 1 case in the Adamawa, and the other case in the central region of Cameroon. Back to you, Esther Kmer.
Thanks very much, Baldwin, for that clarification on pregnancy, COVID-19 and newborn babies. On to this sad note, a requiem mass has been celebrated in memory of Mrs. Berthe Aliokol, a devoted Christian who died last August in Tunisia. The Archbishop of Yaoundé, His Grace Jean Barga, prayed for the repose of her soul and recalled her actions of goodwill on earth. Staff Lady Enanga Kebi has details of the coffin at the Yaoundé Central Hospital and the Mass at the Yaoundé Metropolitan Cathedral.
Mrs. Berthe Aliokol kicked off today with the coffin at the mortuary of the Yaoundé General Hospital. A brief prayer session led by Reverend Father Jean-Marie Bodo and a brief viewing of the corpse was an indication that Mrs. Berthe Aliokol was a devoted Christian and loved by many. Next was a pontifical mass at the Yaoundé Metropolitan Cathedral. The chief celebrant, the Archbishop of Yaoundé, Monsignor Jean Barga, drew his inspiration from the Book of John and the Book of Wisdom. The Archbishop presented Mrs. Aliokol as a woman of faith, humble, generous, and served humanity in her capacity as an educationist. One-time mayor of Mesok in the East region, Mrs. Berthe Aliokol joined Mrs. Chantal Bia's humanitarian caravan, where she hailed as the treasurer of the Chantal Bia Foundation and also the vice president of SERAC. A special wreath from the presidential couple served as an acknowledgement of her loyalty to the services of the First Lady. Mrs. Berthe Aliokol will be buried in Mesok on Saturday, the 5th of September.
We'll now take you over to the Littoral region, where some 200 students as well as personnel in the public and private sector in Douala are being drilled on ICTs as a tool that facilitates employment and improves performance at work, especially with the coronavirus lurking. The training, to run for 3 days, is an initiative of the National Agency for Information and Communication Technology, ANTIC, and it is in line with the 2nd edition of the Cameroon Digital Skill Campaign, launched today by the Director General, Ebot Eno. Laris Nane Porte has highlights of the opening ceremony.
The
coronavirus pandemic has given a chance for the world at large to experience first-hand power of digital technology, as it has enabled a continuation of work, education, and improved communication via its different platforms. Thus, the National Agency for Information and Communication Technology, ANTIC, has through these workshops sought to revalorize the skills of ICT students, public and private sector personnel, and some Fcfa leaders of government, industry, civil society, and academia who were present physically and on live chat. According to the Director General of ANTIC, Ebot Eno, the seminar is to empower youths with digital skills required to transform and improve on the well-being of their communities. The program at its second edition recorded successes at the end of its first edition, as ANTIC has developed numerous solutions in the domains of farming, technology, education, and weather, most especially for start-uppers who have today integrated the professional world. In this edition of the Cameroon Digital Skill, participants will be empowered with required skills to thrive in the post-COVID-19 technology-driven economy and the fourth industrial revolution.
And now we are going to be taking a couple of decrees signed by the President of the Republic today. Good evening, Charles Ebune.
Good evening, Esther Kmer.
You have the reading of those decrees.
Absolutely. We have this decree from the President of the Republic, which is fixing modalities for the taking in care of the regional elections, which are coming up very soon. The President of the Republic, mindful of the Constitution, mindful of law number 2012/001 of 19 April 2012 concerning the Electoral Code, the President of the Republic hereby decrees that modalities for the state to take charge of the various operations for the Electoral College of the election of regional councillors. Article 2, the elections of municipal or regional councillors, the members of the Electoral College have the right to certain advantages. Article 3, the amount for the advantages fixed by the law is estimated at 50,000 francs CFA. Article 3, the various sub-mentions articles will be taken care of by Elections Cameroon and its various structures. And of course, that decree is signed today by the President of the Republic, will be registered in English and in French in the official Gazette, Yaoundé, the 2nd of September 2020, the President of the Republic, Paul Biya. The second decree from the President of the Republic states, the President of the Republic, mindful of the Constitution, mindful of law 2012/1 of 19 April relating to the Electoral Code, together with the subsequent amendments hereto, the President of the Republic, mindful of law number 2019/6 of 25 April 2019 to fix the number, proportion per category and allowances of regional councillors. The President of the Republic, mindful of law number 2019/24 of 24 December 2019 to institute the General Code of Regional and Local Authorities, mindful of decree number 77/245 of 15 July 1977 to reorganize traditional chiefdoms as amended and supplemented by decree number 2013/332 of 13 September 2013, decree number 2008/376 of November 12, 2008, relating to the administrative Organization of the Republic of Cameroon hereby decrees as follows. Article 1. Pursuant to the provisions of the aforementioned law 2019/06 of 25 April 2019, this decree fixes the number of regional councillors per division and per category as follows. Adamawa region, Jerem, divisional representatives 19, representative of traditional rulers 4, total 13. Faro and Deo division, divisional representatives 9, representatives of traditional rulers 4. Mayo Banyo, divisional representatives 13, representatives of traditional rulers 4. Mbere, divisional representatives 14, representatives of traditional rulers 4. Vina, divisional representatives 25, representatives of traditional rulers 4. Total from the Adamawa region, traditional representatives 20, divisional representatives 70 from the Adamawa region, total 90. Center region, divisional representatives, Upper Sanaga 7, representatives of traditional rulers 2. Mbam and Enugu, divisional representatives 9, traditional rulers representative 2. Lekie, divisional representatives 9, representatives of traditional rulers 2. Mefu and Afamba, divisional representatives 8, representatives of traditional rulers 2. Mefu and Akono, divisional representatives 4, representatives of traditional rulers 2. Mfundi, divisional representatives 7, representatives of traditional authorities 2. Nyong and Ekele, divisional representatives 10, representatives of traditional rulers 2. Nyong and Efumu, divisional representatives 5, representatives of traditional rulers 2. Nyong and So, divisional representatives 6, representatives of traditional rulers 2. From the center region, a total of 90. East region, divisional representatives Bumba and Ngoku 10, traditional rulers 5. Upper Nyong, divisional representatives 23, representatives of traditional rulers 5. Kadei division, divisional representatives 16, representatives of traditional rulers 5. Lom and Jerem division, divisional representatives 21, representatives of traditional rulers 5. Total from the East region 90. Far North region, divisional representatives Diamare 14, representatives of traditional rulers 4. Logan and Shari, divisional representatives 14, representatives of traditional rulers 4. Mayo Danai, divisional representatives.
Yes, Charles, Mayo Danai.
Mayo Danai, divisional representatives 15, representatives of traditional rulers 3. Mayo Kani 10, that is divisional representatives and representatives of traditional rulers 3. Mayo Sava, divisional representatives 5. Representatives of traditional rulers, 3. Mayo Sanaga, divisional representatives, 12. Representatives of traditional rulers, 3. From the far north region, a total of 90. The littoral region of Cameroon, Mongo division, divisional representatives, 19. Representatives of traditional rulers, 5. Nkam division, divisional representatives, 6. Representatives of traditional authorities, 5. Sanaga Maritime Division, divisional representatives, 15. Representatives of traditional rulers, 5. Wuri Division, divisional representatives, 30. Representatives of traditional rulers, 5. Total 90. North region, Benue divisional representatives, 28. Traditional representatives, 5. Mayo Luti, Faro, I beg your pardon, 7 divisional representatives. Traditional representatives, 5. Mayo Ray, 17 divisional representatives, 5 representatives of traditional rulers. Mayo Ray, 18 divisional representatives and traditional representatives, 5. From the north region, a total of 90. Northwest region, Boyo divisional representatives, 7. Traditional representatives, 3. Bui division, 13 divisional representatives, 3 representatives of traditional rulers. Ndonga Mantum, 10 divisional representatives, 3 representatives of traditional rulers. Menchum, 7 divisional representatives, 3 traditional representatives. Mezam, 18 divisional representatives, 3 representatives of traditional rulers. Momo, 8 divisional representatives, or 3 traditional representatives. Ngokechunjia, 7 divisional representatives, 2 representatives of traditional rulers, and the total from the northwest region is 90. West region, Bambutus, 9 divisional representatives, 3 traditional representatives. Opankam, 10 divisional representatives, 2 traditional representatives. Upper Plateau, 5 divisional representatives, 2 traditional representatives. Kunki, 4 divisional representatives, 2 traditional representatives. Menwa, 11 divisional representatives, 3 traditional representatives. Nde, 6 divisional representatives, 2 traditional representatives. Noon, 17 divisional representatives, 3 traditional representatives. From the west region, 90. From the south region, Ja and Lobo division, 21 divisional representatives, 5 traditional representatives. Mvila, 20 divisional representatives, 5 traditional representatives. The Ocean division, 20 divisional representatives, 5 traditional representatives. The Valintem division, 9 divisional representatives, 5 traditional representatives, a total of 90. And finally, the Southwest region, FACO, 21 divisional representatives, 3 traditional representatives, Coupe Manenguba division, 6 divisional representatives, and 4 traditional representatives, Libya Lem division, 6 divisional representatives, 3 traditional representatives, Manu, 9 divisional representatives, 4 traditional representatives, Meme division, 15 divisional representatives, 3 traditional representatives, Ndian, 13 divisional representatives, and 3 traditional representatives. Signed the President of the Republic, Paul Biya, and those documents were handed to me by the Director of Television News, Madeleine Sopikoto.
Thanks very much, Charles, for the ring of those presidential decrees. Just getting into our newsroom, talking about divisional and traditional representatives. We shall be giving you analytical reports on those decrees in our subsequent newscast. And that ends this edition of the 7:30 News at 8:30 p.m. You're going to be in the company of Romeo Chuso. I'll be back tomorrow at 7:30 p.m., God willing. Good night, and stay tuned to our programs on CRTV.
In this connection, we should avoid stigmatizing